Black artists in particular, I need for them to see themselves not just making money, but building wealth. And you build wealth in your sleep. You make money during the day, but you build wealth in your sleep.
Yo, what's happening, man? Welcome to expediTIously. I am your host, Tip T.I. Harris. And for those of you, it's your first time catching us, we have discussions that are meant to push the culture and the community forward. And our guests are people who are relevant to that discussion. Now, our guest for today is John Hope Bryant. Okay, he is an American entrepreneur and philanthropist who has built more than 40 organizations, entities, and companies, including Operation Hope, the largest nonprofit financial inclusion organization in the country, and the Promise Homes Company. That's the largest for-profit institutional quality minority control owner of single-family rental real estate in the country. Now, I'm going to just get into the discussion because, you know what I'm saying, a lot of people, you know, are looking, finding new ways to develop new streams of revenue, finding new ways to build generational wealth, and just learn, you know, the power of the financial institutions and how to work them in their favor. And he's going to help us with that. So without further ado, what's up, JHB?
What's up, man? Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead, man.
And we're appropriately distanced, by the way, and we cleaned our hands before we shook hands.
Absolutely.
Do you just wake up in the morning cool? I mean, I looked in the dictionary under cool, and there was a photo of you. I don't get it. You don't walk on water, but you know where the stones are? I mean,
man,
is this the way you flow?
I mean, listen, man, as long as your steps are guided by a higher power or something greater than you, you know what I'm saying? You just learn to trust your movements. I don't take much credit for that. But, I mean, man, I think that one of the most challenging parts about, you know, being in position and being a person of influence is managing your ego. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Managing and, I guess, for lack of a better term, starving your ego, because the ego will constantly want to be fed. It constantly wants to, you know, wants to grow and expand, and it can become bigger than you. So that's my biggest challenge, you know what I'm saying, throughout my life. But
the beautiful part about that, Tip, is that you acknowledge it. So the fact that you acknowledge it means it's not a problem. It's just something that you're aware of and you're managing it. The issue is that most people are too insecure,
right,
to even acknowledge that they have a problem. The very fact that you acknowledge it's an issue means that it's not an issue.
Well,
you know, vulnerability is power.
Right.
Vulnerability is power.
I think I have been honest enough with myself to give a self-diagnosis of narcissism.
well, yeah, and there are people who are narcissistic that they don't have a clue that they're narcissistic, and we're not going to name names.
Right.
But a saint is a sinner that got up. The reason that I gave you that compliment at the start of the show was I knew that you wouldn't take it seriously. In other words, if I thought that would go to your head, if I actually thought you believed it, I wouldn't have said that to you. That just makes you more dangerous.
Right.
All right?
Right.
But the very fact that I knew that it would flow right through you.
Right.
Not on you, not in you, but through you.
Right.
And you say, basically, I appreciate it, but let's move on with the work.
Yeah.
Is exactly why I was able to give it to you.
Well, I
That's
appreciate
why I like
that,
you,
man.
by the way. You're an authentic brother.
Man, thank you. I mean, I'm humbled by your mere acknowledgement of the work that we do as artists in the community, and a person of your stature, of your success level, that has the information that you have. You really don't have to really take notice or acknowledge much of what the arts and entertainment community does. That comes from a genuine passion. Like, can you speak to that?
Well, I mean, I grew up. First of all, thanks for saying that. I grew up in Compton, California, man, in South Central L.A., so the resume is cool, but I was homeless for 6 months of my life when I was 18 years old. I saw 2 deaths before I was 10, actually 3 deaths, the deaths of the marriage of my mom and dad. We owned a gas station, 8-unit apartment building, our own home. We'd done really well, but they lost it all because my dad was financially illiterate. And Ambassador Young, our mentor, would say that men and women fail for 3 reasons: arrogance, pride, and greed.
Right.
My dad wasn't greedy, but he was arrogant, and he was full of pride. And he wouldn't admit that my mother, who was financially illiterate, that he needed her help. So he'd make $1 and spend $1.50. So the more money we made, the broker we got.
Damn.
And so that led to divorce because the number one cause for divorce is money, not domestic abuse, not infidelity, money. And by the way, number of calls for most things is money. We'll get into that.
Right.
But that my dad couldn't acknowledge that my mother had a role in that partnership. He wouldn't give her the reins of the money. So literally, he confused cash flow with profit.
Right.
And when your outflow exceeds your inflow, then your overhead becomes your downfall.
Right.
That was the first death. Then the guy who saved my life when I fell on my porch and was swallowing my tongue, and I think at 7 years old, my uncle, he was trying to make some extra money, and he went to the wrong neighborhood to sell drugs. That wasn't his job, but that was the only way he thought he could make money.
Right.
And unfortunately, he was not good at this and came riding his bicycle from where he was selling drugs back to our house where he lived. We were staying with him because we had lost everything. And a truck hit him and drug him down the street until he was dead in front of me at 7 years old. I can still see it sitting here. And he just got the memo on money wrong, man. He got the memo on wealth building wrong. He got the memo on his self-esteem wrong. And I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Right.
I'm tired of seeing my people die, murdered over some BS and over some drama, right? There are no retired drug dealers, right? It does not have a pension plan.
Well, there are.
They transition. They transition. By the way, they're not dumb. They're brilliant. They understand import, export, finance, marketing, wholesale, retail, customer service, security, territory, logistics.
Sure.
Just with the wrong business plan.
We speak about this all the time, candidly.
Yeah. And then the third thing is this thug who lived next to me named Tweet. My best friend George was brilliant and had high A grades. I had C grades. But George didn't know who he was. Unlike you and me, he was not comfortable in his own skin. And he started hanging around with Tweet, my next door neighbor, who was a thug. And got shot in the street corner and killed with Tweet. And that taught me if you hang around 9 broke people, you'll be the 10th. Whatever you model, you will be. And that's why I appreciate it when you wanted me to hang around with your son for a little bit. You're like, I need my son to understand not just the right brain creative, but the left brain business.
Right.
I need to make sure my son is balanced, right? That's why I'm glad my nephew Mason is here because you model what you
see.
And if all we see is a limited view, then that's all we're going to be.
Right.
So make a long story short, I got a different view when I was 9 or 10 years old, man, of life. And a banker taught me financial literacy.
A banker taught you financial literacy.
A white banker.
A white banker.
Now, most of our experience in the neighborhood we grew up with, the only white person we saw...
Insurance man.
Or the cop.
Or the police.
The police jam you up. It's some negative situation.
Yeah.
I had a chance of having this banker come and talk about financial literacy tip, and I raised my hand. I said, "Sir, what do you do for a living?" He said, "I'm a banker and I finance entrepreneurs." I said, "Sir, I don't know what an entrepreneur is, but if it's legal and you finance them, you with a suit and a tie and a nice car on the outside, and you got a nice business card, and I know what you're doing is legal. Right. If you're financing them, I want to be that." I went home, opened the word dictionary. Back then it was a dictionary, not the internet.
Right.
Found the word entrepreneur, a French word, create something out of nothing.
Right.
I said, I can do that. I don't need a degree. I don't need a fancy whatever.
Right.
I can do that with my creativity and hustle. That was it. And that's who I am literally today. I said, well, if I can set myself free, and if freedom today is self-determination, you've self-determined yourself, I've self-determined myself, then maybe we can set our whole community free. Because I'm tired of prison, probation, parole, and death. I'm tired of winning the battle and losing the war.
Right.
I'm tired of talking about getting paid and making money but not building wealth, right?
Right.
And empowering our people. And I want to create jobs, man, for our people. And so I think that the artists, you cannot have a movement without the entertainment, celebrity, art community. Our people listen to you. You're the vibration of our community. And Dr. King could do nothing without the artist community. No movement has ever transformed without Nelson Mandela as well.
Right.
I think this new movement of silver rights, not civil rights, but silver rights in the streets, not the streets, requires your voice and your involvement more so now than ever. So it's not my space, it's not what I do, but I'm smart enough to see that we need you.
Now, as I introduced you, we talked about, your nonprofit philanthropy, and also that you have the largest for-profit minority-controlled owner of single-family rental real estate in the country. Now, something that you and I speak about.
I know where you're going.
Okay, so we're both in real estate.
Tip thinks my business is boring,
which I
love.
Your business is boring.
That's what you want. You want boring.
I get it.
You want boring investment. If your accountant is at the club, it's the wrong accountant.
But, okay, so we're both in real estate. You have significantly more leverage right now than I.
It's called smart debt.
Yeah.
$100 million portfolio with $48 million worth of debt.
Right, and now that's a thing, right? Because when we came up, we thought the strength and the power was being able to purchase things cash, which, that's like all of the stuff I got. Bought this cash, all of the real estate, the museum, cash, and all of the parcels and all of the pieces that I have, I purchased with cash money. And you always tell me that's stupid.
Well, it's not. If the world comes to an end, it's smart.
Okay.
But you're an optimist, and if you believe.
I'm actually a terrible cynic.
No, you're skeptical. You're not cynical.
Okay.
It's because when you're cynical, you've lost hope. Skeptical is just questioning everything and everybody to make sure that they're not dumber than you are, because you want people smarter than you are around you because you're a smart man.
I take that.
Yeah, so you're not skeptical at all. You're just cynical. But God wants you to question even Him. God don't have a self-esteem problem.
Yeah, okay? Yeah.
So the whole thing about debt is if the world comes to an end, you don't want debt. So this is such an important point of where you've been and where you're going. This is a conversation we were having outside. Right. This is such an important conversation for our community.
Okay.
My new book called Up From Nothing comes out in October.
All right.
Basically, I say there's three types of people, three types of mentalities: surviving, thriving, and winning. Okay. Now you're a winner. Why? You knew you were a winner before you won anything. I knew I was a winner before I ever won anything. Anybody has outsized success, it doesn't matter what industry, what sector, they knew they were a winner before they ever won anything. Here's the problem. When you've been dealing with 350 years of Jim Crow and slavery, you've been told you ain't nothing.
Right.
Your self-esteem's in the toilet, not your confidence, but that follows it's probably the toilet too. Right. You're hanging around broke people. You never got the memo on money.
With broke mentalities.
Right. You never got the memo on money or financial literacy or how the free enterprise or capitalist system works, right? You never see anybody around you successful, so you don't trust banks. You don't trust capitalism. You don't trust the government. I understand that, but the problem is...
I don't trust banks. I don't trust the government.
That's an old tip. This is exactly... This is why you're so brilliant. Over it, around it, through it, you've gotten to it. You've been doing so much with so little for so long, you don't almost do anything with nothing.
Right.
But what I'm saying is you've been this successful without leverage.
That's right.
Okay. So in a down economy, those who have a surviving mindset prepare for a down economy.
Right.
They don't trust nothing. They keep everything close hold, right? But those who have a thriving or winning mentality, so you're in conflict with each other. The thriving and winning side of you is looking for this to appreciate. Now, it will appreciate, because as long as the world is not coming to an end, after the Great Depression, what happened? Things recovered. Right. Investments went up. Right. What happens this is buying season right now. Everybody's afraid. As Warren Buffett would say, when people are afraid, be greedy.
That's right.
People are greedy, be afraid.
That's right.
So right now, everybody's selling their stock portfolio.
It's blood in the streets. It's blood in the streets.
That's right.
You buy when it's blood in the streets.
That's it.
Yeah.
So now, leverage, so good debt. Bad debt is financing jewelry.
Yeah,
bad debt is financing Nike's tennis shoes.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Bad debt is financing
even financing a Ferrari.
It's bad debt at 18% interest. By the way, you finance a Mercedes at 20% interest. It's not a Mercedes, it's Mercedes payments.
I mean,
it's a mobile bomb.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you finance if you finance, like I pay 2%. I wonder how the bank's making any money.
2%.
Oh yeah, man, my debt's sexy.
Let's talk about your portfolio for a minute, man, because I did say that your business was boring, but I did not say
returns are not.
I didn't say it wasn't lucrative. You know what I'm saying? I did not say it wasn't lucrative. You have what, $100 million worth of rental properties?
700 homes between here and Florida.
700 homes
with my people.
Single family.
With my people in them.
And all minorities.
My people
of color.
And all of my maintenance work goes to my people.
Okay.
Plumbing, electrical, landscaping, roofing, $25 an hour jobs goes to my people. I call it intentional renewable philanthropy.
Now, when you say it like that, it does sound a little sexier than just when you say, I got 700 rental properties. You know what I'm saying? But I think that there is a way, to kind of bridge the gap and meet in the middle. You already know my first development in my neighborhood of Bankhead, man, is about to break ground between July and August. Hopefully, if COVID hasn't set us back too far.
It's temporary. By the way, all your investments have been brilliant. I'm going to say that. I would have structured them a little differently.
Okay.
But where you've bought and what you've bought, I think has been very smart. I just think you should have used some good debt because that juices your returns. Good leverage on a good investment juices your returns.
Okay.
The big tip, the most successful business in the history of the world?
Talk about it.
It's the most boring business you can imagine.
I'm listening.
Banking. This is the most successful business, and the hidden secret. Check this out. A bank entrepreneur walks up to the federal government. First of all, it's the only business insured by the full faith and credit of the federal government. A private business. Mm-hmm. Now, you go up and you're going to start a bank. You put up 6 cents, 6 pennies, but you receive a deposit from John Hope Bryant or from Tip for $1. Now, you take that $1 from 94 cents. You put up 6 cents of risk capital. Mm-hmm. You take a deposit for 94 cents. Mm-hmm. You take that dollar and you loan it to Mason for 4%, 5% interest.
Right.
You're not making 4 or 5%. You're making, I don't know, if Mason pays his bills, you're making 40% on your equity because your equity is only 6 cents.
Yeah.
So as long as Mason pays, this is why banks really want you to pay your money back. As long as Mason pays his money back, you're making a fortune on your little 6 cents, but you're making the return on the whole dollar because you're only paying the depositor 1 cent. You're getting a return of 4, 5, or 6 cents. Now take these numbers and add 1,000 to it,
sure,
100,000 to it, 1,000,000 to it, 1 billion to it.
Right.
Now you're making money in your sleep, and you're making money at scale.
Right.
The richest people in the world are bankers. But what I got to get our people out of the mindset of, we're so used to cashing checks, we're not used to writing checks. You're actually a check writer. You paid for this building.
Yeah.
You paid for your investments. All I'm saying is you're just under leveraged, so you're not juicing your returns.
Gotcha. See, this is the thing, and I think this is the reason why a lot of people, especially creatives, who and shout out to the people out there who have already mastered the art of leverage, leveraging debt.
Our friend Tony Ressler. Our billionaire friend Tony
and Jay Morrison also.
Okay.
Jay Morrison. But the thing is, I hate to be in a position where I have a vision. Right? Let's say this studio. Right? I have a vision. And me being in this industry, I know what this studio means to the community of musicians.
Right.
I mean, from Young Thug to Elton John to me to Gunna to just, I know all of the people who only want to work here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Going to a bank, they don't see that.
Right.
I have to sit here and explain to you in a language that you probably won't understand, something that you aren't going to comprehend, and you're going to use your lack of comprehension as a basis on whether or not I am eligible for you to invest in this studio with me.
That's the old Tip talking. This is a brilliant conversation.
I'm just saying, because they don't see it.
No, so here's the language they understand, and you're going to show it to them brilliantly because you've mastered this. They understand a balance sheet. They understand. This is not about white, black, red, brown, or yellow. This is about some green, U.S.
right.
currency. They understand the income and expense statement from this studio.
Right.
They understand the balance sheet. They understand payroll. They understand profit margin. This is an immensely profitable enterprise.
Sure.
And all you're doing is pushing that financial statement across the table.
Sure.
It speaks for you. It speaks for you. And they just say yes. That plus your credit score. And they say yes.
Except for if you're buying, now, again, buying when there's blood in the streets.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if the business was already functioning perfectly,
Yep.
then I wouldn't be in a position to buy it.
Good point.
So obviously, there is something at the time when I purchased it that isn't going perfectly. So sliding that statement across the desk to them may not be as easy as you described.
That's called an entrepreneur taking risks.
But my vision says I know what's going to make it work.
There's the winner.
I know what it takes. So if I'm sitting across for someone who only wants to see what's on paper, which may not be flattering, and they don't see my vision of how I'm going to create opportunities to make it flattering, that conversation to me is a waste of time. And I'd rather just go buy it myself and go on about my business.
So that's what they call a refinance. Okay? So you bought it when no one understood it.
Right.
You added value to it.
Right.
And then you refinance it to pull some of your equity out.
Okay.
At a modest leverage with no... So I have $48 million worth of debt. You want to guess how much of it is personally guaranteed?
48 million. Well, since you got rental properties, with passive income, it's going to be non-recourse, is it not?
It's non-recourse.
Yeah.
So your audience needs to know what non-recourse is.
Non-recourse is there's no guarantor because the entity that you are purchasing is already generating revenue.
You go. The entity is a person.
Yeah.
The entity that's borrowing the money is in this case viewed as a person.
Right.
It's called cash flow from the business. So
Right.
they don't need John Hope Bryant.
Right.
They've got the value is the cash flow plus secured by the assets.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so in that situation, you can't take that. You can't harm me personally. You can, if things go south of the border,
You can take the building.
You can take the building
Or the business.
But before that comes, I get to sell the building
Right.
under my own steam,
Right.
and then I pay you off and keep the balance.
Right.
So the entrepreneur is in charge of every step of that situation, except when you're just have a complete foreclosure because you just, in my opinion, just didn't pay attention at all to the signals.
Right.
But in your case, you've got so much upside potential that you've built that you now get to leverage, no different than leveraging your brand.
Right.
This show is an example of how you've positively leveraged your brand. I got a call from the federal government yesterday asking me to ask you.
Huh? What?
To help minority small businesses get
shit.
some money.
Man, you scared the shit out of me, JD.
But my point is that's how people are wanting to leverage your brand for other things other than making music
Right.
or doing a TV show because you've gotten a brand that has value.
You know what? Now tell me this. Now, because this is a great point you just touched on.
This is a sexy conversation, man.
Hey, man, why is it that the value of my brand can be recognized by formal financial institutions, even up to the government? It can be recognized when they need me to do something for them.
Right.
Now, okay, he's strong in this area. Let's go get him so he could provide this service for us.
Right.
And we could reap the benefit of the strength of his brand. But when I sit down across from you and I need you to do something for me, now the value of my brand is being questioned. Well, I don't know if it's that big. Oh, man, I don't know if he can he do it again? Well, what else does he have going on? Well, what kind of news? What kind of headlines? They create excuses when I need them to do something for me, but they have nothing but praise when they need me to do something for them. Why is that?
This is called the magic of negotiation. The seller's job is to overvalue their asset.
Okay.
The buyer's job is to undervalue that asset. The negotiation and the magic is to find a win-win somewhere in the middle.
Right.
But it is your job to believe that you're worth more than you actually are, and to advocate for that. It is the person who is trying to buy or leverage or use your business to get it for the lowest possible price they possibly can so they can make a profit. By the way, none of this is personal.
Right.
We got to stop taking stuff personal.
Okay.
This is business. Business is not personal.
I go for that. Well, you do know that art comes now. Listen,
This is hard for an artist to hear because everything for an artist is personal.
I get it. That's
by the way, it's a music business.
It is the music business.
Music.
It is the music business. But okay, before it was the music business, it was music. Okay, and somebody who probably could not cut it as an artist or a maker of music said, well, let's just figure out how to create a business from this.
I love this conversation.
And that's when all the shit came in the game. You dig what I'm saying?
So Las Vegas
Right.
started from the mafia. Parts of the music business started from the mafia. It was a business, and they would literally take R&B artists and hang them out windows to, quote, negotiate back in the day.
Sure they would.
So Quincy Jones, our friend and mentor,
Right.
who's worth $340 million in a bad day.
That's enough.
After he lost $500 million on the Time Warner AOL deal, so he's worth much more than that. But he says this: if you think you're in the music business and you don't own music rights, publishing rights, licensing rights, you're actually not in the music business. You're a temporary performer.
Work for hire.
You're a temporary performer. You're completely replaceable because
Like
this
a plumber.
worse. The plumber is actually in control of a unique talent that's necessary for life. A temporary entertainer can go out of vogue tomorrow. Right? You've been in this game so long, you're now a veteran and an elder statesman, and you're relevant at the same time. That's brilliant, but most people cannot do that. So Quincy Jones realized that it was about ownership. We forget, I hate to say it this way, a church is probably the most noble form of a business.
Noble?
But it is a business. If
Why do you say it's noble?
Well, I believe the churches are. Okay,
I'm just
I believe the churches have a noble calling. I think the church of Reverend. I think the church. I'm gonna trip you up here. The church where Andrew Young pastors is noble.
Yeah.
The church where Dr. King pastored was noble. That's just where you find some common ground. We understand there's a lot of folks pimping the pulpit.
They are exceptions to the rule, though.
But my point was, without that weekly passing of the plate to pay lights, mortgage, salaries of the secretary of the church, they can't survive either.
Okay.
Whatever it is you want to talk about in the course of your day is a capitalist model. Even if you want to distribute money like a socialist, you got to first collect it like a capitalist. What I'm saying is we don't have our business management hat on.
Okay.
That black artists, but black artists in particular, I need for them to see themselves not just making money, but building wealth. And you build wealth in your sleep. You make money during the day, but you build wealth in your sleep.
Okay.
This building is making money for you when you're sleeping. This show, everything you're doing today, TV shows. I can't go home and turn on a TV set without looking at you, right? That's making money when you're asleep, right? And so you've got to find ways, whether it's stocks, bonds, investments, franchises, licensing rights, something to build wealth and not just get paid. And an emotion around your music confuses you with the business behind that emotion. There's somebody taking advantage of your talent.
That's right.
And that needs to be you, is my point.
That's real.
It's not either or, it's both. So all the folks who become billionaires in your space didn't make it on singing, dancing, rocking a mic, running a basketball, football. They did it with the business side.
Right.
Of that piece once they had a brand. Jay-Z, all these folks we know about.
Added revenue stream.
Amen.
Yeah.
So all I'm just saying is we never got the memo on money, man. I mean,
we ain't really never had none for real.
Well, and by the way,
and we just not starting to get some. Like with hip hop is the first little means of, legitimacy, at least in the upper 8 figures.
Yeah.
That black people had an opportunity to really have the kind of wealth that we needed to actually wrap our mind around managing.
Right.
And we all know the first time you get something and it's new to you, you don't necessarily treat it the same with the same kind of respect and the same importance as you do once you've had it a while, you understand it and you've gotten used to it. And I think that's what hip hop is now. You know what I mean? Which is why you're seeing billionaires and Jay and then Dr. Dre and now Kanye.
But you know what? Money has velocity, Tip.
Okay.
So if you don't have financial literacy in the front end, or you don't learn the lessons in the middle,
right?
Velocity means that money's not slowing down when it hits your wallet. So if you don't have financial literacy, let's start with the positive. You do have financial literacy. They become the tip model: stocks, bonds, investments, business, reinvesting in your education. Every time I talk to you, you're just listening.
Yeah.
How'd you get so smart, Tip? You just nosy as hell. Okay. So
a lot of people would agree with you on that.
And then you have, and I'm going to say something that's controversial, but it's a compliment. You're almost like Black Jewish in the sense of way you look at the business side of your balance sheet. You ain't giving away nothing. You're finding value in that, and making sure that value is leveraged up, even though you're not leveraging your real estate, you're leveraging your mind. So, but here's the negative velocity. You didn't get financial literacy, but you got some money overnight.
Right.
Jewelry, cars, parties, people, your boys, traveling, private jets for your friends. And that person's going.
Private jets for my
that's
friends.
what I'm talking about. Those people going broke, right?
They can come with me if I'm getting on one, but I ain't never just ordered up no private jet. Say, y'all have a good time, man. See you when you get back.
I won't name names. There's a boxer in Las Vegas that ordered a private jet for his boys, another private jet for his girls.
Well, God bless.
My billionaire friends don't do that,
man. Because they got good sense.
Amen.
You know what I mean? But I think that all of those kinds of. But I have done dumb shit. Although private jets ain't one of them. You know what I'm saying? On my 25th birthday, I bought 3 cars that same day. I remember waking up, or I was already up, and there was a truck delivery dropped off in Aston Martin.
Right.
The DB9, if I'm not, no, the Vanquish,
right,
and the McLaren at the time. This 2005 McLaren,
right,
and the convertible Ferrari.
Right. By the way, if you buy it right and you don't put a lot of miles on it, it is actually mobile art and it has an investment value. But go ahead, continue.
I lost all that money, so we ain't even gonna go there. I fucked all that up. So I didn't do it the right way.
Ghetto financing.
I bought it all cash. I ate the negative equity. Ooh. I did all that. Yeah. But in doing that, I learned, I learned a lesson that I would not have learned otherwise.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's wisdom.
Tell me, what got you into real estate? When did you buy your first house and what was your vision?
This is a very, very key conversation. So I'll give you 2 different stories. The personal story and the business story. I bought a condo in L.A., I would say 20 years ago, paid $200,000 for it, $239 or something like that. And then the recession hit in 2008, 2009. Everybody, my friends, were selling stuff at a loss. So they're selling into the loss, just like folks are doing right now, selling into the loss. I'm like, well, you know what? I got to live somewhere. At that point, I was living in the condo. If I move out of here and move into an apartment, I'm going to pay my mortgage payment.
Right.
So I might as well stay here, even though it's worth $100,000. I owe $231, but I got to live somewhere, and it's no big deal. I'm going to forget about what it's worth.
Right.
So I blinked and went on about my life. I checked the equity 5 years later, worth $750,000. Now I owe $190. It's worth $750.
Right.
I sell it for $790.
Right.
I take that money, put it into a tax-free exchange, invest that into another property, which is now worth $3.5 million. You do the math on that. And I leverage that by way 70% with a mortgage, right? So I just kept building on. Now, that was my personal story. Let me tell you a more powerful story on the business side. I didn't start that real estate company, Tip, until 2017.
So what were you doing before then?
Thinking. Learning from everybody else's mistakes.
Okay.
And I looked at what happened in our community after the Rodney King riots, the global recession of 2009. Rodney King riots was Operation Hope's founding. And we got upset with all these Wall Street companies who, by the way, rightly so, they pimped us on our financial literacy, sold us crappy homes that are overvalued and crappy mortgages. And because we were financially literate, we unfortunately, took the bad loans and the bad mortgages. It exploded in our face, and they came in and bought our homes at a discount. Now, what I'm saying to people now is, you're going to see America on discount in the next year after COVID.
That's right.
Don't get upset, get even. Go buy you some. People are going to lose their house. I hate to say it, whether you like it or not. Don't get emotional about it.
Right.
Whether you're upset about it or not, people will lose their home. The only question is who's going to pick it up. Now, if you're a church, a legitimate church, or a nonprofit, create a fund, buy those homes in your neighborhood, own your block. If you want to lease lease purchase to the person who's lost it, let them lease it back with an option to buy it later, that's your moral responsibility. Or buy it for 30, 40 cents on the dollar, rehab it a little bit, rent it out, and hold it. You will make a fortune, and you will build wealth in your own community, and that's essentially what I did. I bought the assets from the folks who bought them after the recession. I started buying in 2017. I had no assets. Today, I have $100 million, and 3 years later, I'm the largest in the country. Now, here's what upsets me.
Okay.
I don't own 7,000 homes. I will. I don't own 70,000 homes. I may. I don't own 700,000. There are 17 million rental homes in America. There are 54 million homes in America, 30 million multifamily apartment buildings in America. We don't own any of them. I own this is disgusting to me. I own 700 homes, and we're celebrating me in Atlanta, Georgia. I just moved to Atlanta 10 years ago. We're experts at civil rights. We're experts in social justice. We're experts in hip hop. We're experts in I mean, you name it, we kill it.
But how can you culture is our commodity.
And Atlanta is the richest black community in arguably the world, but certainly the U.S. How could John Bryant walk in here, no hookup, no government program, no nothing, in broad daylight, and buy 700 homes in our neighborhood and build wealth? Yes, I'm glad I could do it, but why isn't everybody doing that? The next gold mine is from Midtown to the airport.
Right. That's
the next gold mine. Undervalued everything. So I just think we need to use the same brilliance that we've done in the arts and flip it to what the arts really is, because it's a music business, it's the entertainment business, it's the business of entertainment. We need to take that wealth we built in the arts and turn it into community wealth and do well and do good in our community and give our people affordable housing, opportunities to own retail or rent retail from us, to open restaurants or barbershops or whatever we want. By the way, this is not against anybody.
Right.
This is not about getting back at anybody. They ain't got nothing to do with anything.
It's empowerment.
It's empowerment.
Yeah. So another thing that I find very interesting that you do, which I appreciate, is you allow people who rent from you to buy the home that they're renting.
That's right.
At the end of their term.
And I lower their rent, by the way. If you raise your credit score, to 700, by the way, and I give you free counseling through Operation Hope to do it. You raise your credit score with us to 700, I'll reduce your rent 10% permanently. And people think, oh, he's doing a goody two-shoot. No, I'm not. If your credit score is 580, I'm chasing you for rent. and you hate me and I hate you. I'm calling you every 2 days. Right. I'm hitting you with late fees.
Right.
If I can get your credit score up to 700, your habits change. Your mentality changes. Your whole vibe changes. Now you pay like a coupon. I don't have to call you at all. You pay on time. That's now, worth the 10% discount.
Is that because they raised their credit score, or because you lowered their rent 10%?
No. I lowered your rent because you raised your credit score.
I know, but I'm talking about the change in mentality and them paying on time.
No, it's a great point. This is such a great point. People say, well, John, capitalism is just wrong. If you just give everybody in the world, take all the money in the top 10%, top 5%, and give it to every poor person, you'll solve every problem in the world. Please, everybody watching this, listen to what's coming out of my mouth. For those in the back of the room, I'm going to say it twice. If you took all the wealth in the world, you redistributed to everybody else in the world, within 5 years, the top 3% will have it all over again, because it's a mindset. If I stopped and gave $1 million to a homeless man on a street corner because I felt sorry for him, he'll be broke in 6 months. If nothing changes here, nothing's going to change here. Huh?
Or dead in 2 weeks, just depending on his habits.
Even more dramatic. But 70% of those who win the lottery bankrupt in 5 years.
Sure.
70% of those who get an NFL contract bankrupt 5 years after retirement. There's a huge number. I think it's like 80% of those in the NBA bankrupt 5 years after retirement. I don't know the numbers in the arts, but my guess is probably similar.
Right.
It has nothing to do with you're a good person. It's about understanding the math.
Okay.
The financial literacy. That's the new civil rights issue, Tip.
Right.
And so, yes, I give you a discount on rent if you raise your credit score.
Okay.
I then reinvest every dollar from maintenance back into black-owned, minority-owned businesses in my neighborhood, plumbers, electricians, landscapers, because I'm reinvesting in my neighborhood, but also I'm protecting my property. Now, are the folks in my neighborhood gonna steal from me or protect from me?
They're gonna protect you as long as you continue to feed them
and
I'll create opportunities for them.
Amen.
Yeah.
And then if you rent from me for 5 years and you pay on time,
right,
I'll let you buy the house from me that you were renting.
Owner finance.
No, I'll vouch for you to the bank.
Okay, gotcha.
But at that point, I'm not taking a risk because you've actually shown through your behavior that you behave like an owner. Nobody washes rental cars. People who drive rental cars, take it back to the owner, dirty, messed up. With you can write your fingerprints on the side of the car.
Goodness, man.
But ownership mentality is a whole different, as they say, situation.
Yeah.
I want us to have an ownership mentality of our brand, of our lives, of our health, of our community. I want us to take our lives back, and that starts with esteeming ourselves.
That makes sense. I mean, I see both sides of it. You know what I mean?
What's the other side?
I mean, man.
Educate me.
I mean, listen. People do what they're used to doing.
Amen.
You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that we have been oppressed and disenfranchised, and we've been preyed upon.
That's right.
You know, with things like, the Contra scandal, war on drugs, you know what I'm saying, mass incarceration, lynchings, murderers, you know what I'm saying? Like, we've been preyed upon, and we don't have many examples like John Hope Bryant.
Or Tip.
I mean, we have more of me than we do of you. You dig what I'm saying?
We're trying to change that, brother.
Of course we are.
That's why we're doing this program.
So that's what I'm saying. I see both sides of it, kind of like, I can see how someone who has been in this environment all their lives and hasn't been exposed to the same things that I have been or that you have been, I can see how they say, well, that's easier said than done. Yeah. And of course, if you continue to make excuses, then it's going to continue to seem impossible. But if you kind of like wake up one day and say, this is the first day of a new chapter, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, I see both sides.
So what's the most dangerous person in the world? The person with no hope.
Yeah.
So what do we see? Unfortunately, as a result of all this oppression, folks who unfortunately have lost a lot of their hope. Which, by the way, that means that the race is won. Here's Ambassador Andrew Young's quote on today. This was Dr. King's boy. Okay. His right hand.
Yeah.
To live in a system of free enterprise and not to understand the rules of free enterprise must be the very definition of slavery. So let me check this out.
Meaning, if y'all out there paying for free shit, you know what I'm saying? If you out there, if you have something free, and you are paying for it when you don't have to,
right?
That is
a check casher. So you take your paycheck. Hold on, wait a minute. I take my paycheck from a credit-worthy employer to a check casher, and they're going to give me 96 cents of my dollar back, and I'm going to say thank you.
Right.
I'm being pimped in broad daylight. Payday. In a 500 credit score neighborhood, Tip, here's what you see. This is modern slavery. A check casher next to a payday loan lender, next to a rent-to-own store, next to a title lender, next to a liquor store,
pawn shop.
Next to a pawn shop, hold on, next to a renting rim store.
A renting rim store.
20-inch rims with spinners on them. And we saying thank you. You're being pimped. What did Malcolm X say? You've been bamboozled. You've been tricked. You've been fooled. It's what we don't know that we don't know that's killing us, but we think we know. But here's what gives me hope. And this is your industry.
Okay.
When the rules are published and the playing field is level, we succeed.
Right.
The arts. Your people love your music, they buy it.
Right.
People see like you on TV, they subscribe.
Right.
You run, you're Jesse Owens, whatever, you run or whatever, you won.
Right.
You're Michael Jordan. You're the best player. You won. When the rules are published and the playing field is leveled, black and brown folks succeed.
Right.
We even killing it in tennis and F1 racing.
Right.
Capitalism does not have published rules. And the bank that was created to teach us that after the Civil War, the Freedmen's Bank, created by Abraham Lincoln, by the way, it was 40 acres, January 1865, a mule, February 1865, a bank chartered to teach free slaves about money and finance the land we just got, and then Lincoln gets killed in April of the same year. And Frederick Douglass tried to run the bank. People don't know Frederick Douglass, we say he's an abolitionist. He was a businessman, Tip. He owned $6 million worth of real estate in Baltimore, Maryland, and rented it out to working class blacks, which gave him the financial freedom to be a civil rights leader. People don't know that Dr. King's father.
Wait a minute.
It's deep, man.
So Frederick Douglass owned $6 million worth of real estate in 1865?
1865. And put up $10,000 of his own money to try to save the Freedmen's Bank, which was $20 million today. He wasn't a broke man. Dr. King worked for free. How do you do that? How do you get a PhD in 1957 because your daddy paid for it? Okay, who was daddy? Daddy King was a capitalist. Daddy King served on the board of a bank for 40 years. His grandfather, and Dr. King's grandfather, A.D. Williams, owned all that real estate around the King Center. That's why the King Center's there. They owned all that land. This is no new story, Tip. Too many of us just didn't get the memo.
Well, too many of us just don't have affluent fathers, grandfathers.
Amen. Or a father.
Well, yeah. But, that could, lead the way. I just heard, when you told your story, although you said your father fell on hard times because he lacked financial literacy, you knew as a child what success looked like.
That's right.
You knew that.
No doubt.
In success, I should have a multi-unit apartment building to rent out to people, and I should receive that income. We should own our home.
That's right.
We should be able to own a gas station.
And my mother told me she loved me every day of my life, so I never had a self-esteem problem. I started Operation Hope. Let me go back to your original question. I don't think I've ever said this on a show like this. But let me just say it now. I started Operation Hope out of guilt.
What does that mean?
I mean, I just thought that my life was normal, man. I thought that a mom who told a child that they loved them every day was normal. I thought that my father, who met a payroll out of the front door of our house to all races of people, whites, Latinos, whatever, I thought that was normal.
Right.
I thought that, that having a belief in yourself and starting my first business at 10 years of age, the neighborhood candy house, and put the liquor store out of the candy. I thought that was putting the liquor store out of the candy business. I thought that was normal. And when the Rodney King riots hit in '92, I was 26. I didn't think it was going to happen because I figured racism was dead. Those officers were going to be convicted who beat up Rodney King, and when they weren't, I felt like a fool. And I'd been basically blaming my own community for its own failure because I figured if I succeeded, they could.
Right.
So now, I guess my gift now is I see
been guilty of that for a while. You know what I'm saying? That's not difficult. If your vantage point, right, is that of a place of fairness. Like if I go around and all the white people treat me nice, but you T.I.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? All the people who I didn't personally experience the things that we later saw to be true, but it was Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, Philando Castile, that consistent behavior with no accountability showed me that I'd been terribly mistaken.
And that's why you're a defender of, every week I'm on your page, I see you bringing light to some injustice.
Sure.
Because I think that's it's not your guilt, but that's your responsibility for your voice.
Yeah.
Likewise, rainbows only follow storms.
That's right.
Loss creates leaders, and you can't grow without legitimate suffering. I turned my pain and my guilt into responsibility and purpose by then saying I'm going to be a light to people.
Right.
I'm going to give voice to those who don't have a voice.
Right.
And I now understand my white conservative Republican friends who say y'all need to go get a job because that used to be me.
Right.
I understand my black liberal friends who say I've been put upon my own life because that was my grandfather.
Right.
I get it, right?
Right.
But now I'm saying anger's not a business plan. Frustration is not going to pay your mortgage. Blaming whoever for 300 years ago is not going to solve the problem of your child who needs an education. So you got to both acknowledge the pain of the past, and then Quincy Jones would say we all need a moratorium on childhood trauma. We got to find a way right now, or they say right now, to change the narrative.
Right.
For yourself and generations yet unborn. So I've just decided to be the change I want to see in the world.
That's accurate.
That's it. That's the bottom line.
That's the answer.
And so I'm not waiting for the government.
Right.
I'm not waiting for the president, the mayor, the county supervisor. I'm not waiting for racism to change. I can't get in my heart and change how somebody feels about me. I can get in my heart and change how I feel about you.
That's fair. And I mean, but at the same time, I think that as a community and as a generation and as a people, if we don't show some form of consequence to blatant actions that jeopardize, threaten, and discount the lives and liberties of our people that look like us,
amen,
and only people that look like us, if we don't show some form of consequence, then it will continue to repeat itself.
Amen.
And we can't, like you say, and we can't look for the government to do it.
That's right. We
can't look for police to do it. We can't look for society as a whole to do it. We have to find ways to mobilize and to unify and do it ourselves.
So on that point, now we're going to come together. Remember I said that folks don't watch rental cars?
Yeah.
Okay. The largest group of voters are owners, homeowners, small business owners, higher education owners, stock owners. If you don't have a stake, then you don't participate largely in the system. You may not even believe in the system. If you're not voting, you have really given away that power to create that change you're talking about. You don't make the change, and so now you're not a consequence. The biggest problem today, Tip, I don't think is love or hate, it's indifference. Our biggest risk right now is if folks write us off as being non-consequential, irrelevant, completely. We don't vote. This is what people are saying about us. We don't vote. We don't have high-income jobs. We don't have higher educations. We're not taxpayers. We don't own things. We're not part of the free enterprise system. So if people can write you off in an environment of class structure, then you have disempowered yourself. In my opinion, the way you solve this game is not to get angry, but to get even, and to become an owner and a stakeholder, to vote people out of office. Look, I don't get mad with people when somebody upsets me. I'll take out my American Express card and knock you out.
Hey, man, listen. But you do know, right? You also said earlier the most dangerous person is the person with nothing to lose.
Amen.
Okay. So now you have a community of people that exist in poverty.
Until we give them jobs.
They were born in poverty. All they know is poverty. Like you say, they're not owners of much
yet
because they don't have anything to and they're not voting because they don't have anything to protect.
Right.
The people who you said voting, they're voting to protect their interests in certain things, certain liberties, and certain possessions, or certain things that they've had, that they've accumulated. The people who have nothing to lose have nothing to protect.
And here's the problem, Tip. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome.
I can agree with that.
We have got to change the tape in our head. Our mentality is a survivor's mentality. Ready, fire, aim. PTSD. We're waiting for some bad crap to happen, and it probably will. Okay? It's self-manifest destiny.
Like clockwork.
It's bias confirmation. We have got to change this narrative, man.
Yeah.
We are at risk. We have got to upgrade the software in our community. We can't keep marching for another 50 years. We did that 50 years ago. We can't just keep saying, racism.
I'm tired of marching.
I'm sick and tired.
I'm tired of marching.
We need to march to the bank.
I could dig that. I mean, okay, so we always talk a lot, man. I think now is a good time to hit it. The wealth gap.
Yep.
We talk about the wealth gap, the healthcare gap, the educational gap. We all know these things are real, but how do we fix them?
The first thing we have to do is self-esteem. I mean, this is such an important conversation because here's my theory, and I usually use data I can confirm. Let me say I can't confirm what I'm about to say.
Okay.
I think after 350 years of slavery and Jim Crow, black folks are 70% clinically undiagnosed depressed. It explains everything. And I mean everything. You walk up on a white kid in a suburban neighborhood and you tap him on the shoulder. Yes, can I help you? You walk up on a brother in our neighborhood, tap him, yeah, man, what? Get your hand off me. We at 9. We're at 9 when you meet us because life has just been brutal. It's been unfair. Daddy ain't home. We don't have mom and dad. We have baby daddy and baby mama. What the heck is that? How can we make normal this crazy mess? The abnormal has become normal in our neighborhoods and in our communities for so long that now we have normalized the trauma. And I think that when we go to church on Sunday, that's like going to a psychologist. We don't want to admit we crazy, so we go to church and we hoop and holler and scream to get just feeling good enough to handle another week of racism and bias and discrimination.
Okay.
But this is all surviving, not thriving. Let me give you an example of where I think we need to go.
Okay.
In my new book, Up From Nothing, I tell the story of Mike Maples.
Okay, who's Mike Maples?
I'm telling you, this I love this. He's a billionaire.
Damn.
One of the top 10 venture capitalists. We don't know his name.
Damn.
His dad was number 2.
Nice to meet you, Mike Maples.
Mike Maples,
you know what I'm saying?
His dad was number 2 at Microsoft.
Okay.
Created every program we use. Now, he's in this, short version, he's in his house, said, tell me how you were raised. He is 15 years old, so he created a video game company. 15 years old, something we want our children to do. Mm-hmm. Mike goes to his dad and says, hey, Dad, I think I'm going to sell my company to Disney. Now, let's stop. Everybody in the studio, wouldn't we say to our child, yes, fair? Bravo.
Depending on the deal, yes.
Okay, depending on the deal.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
See, I expect this from you.
The devil's in the detail.
But depending on, not just great, but depending on the deal.
Right.
Here's what Mike Maples' dad said.
What?
I'm disappointed in you.
Damn.
We don't think like that in our household. Mike Jr. said, what are you talking about? He said, we don't think about that in our household. In our household, you don't use your company to sell to Disney. You use your company to buy Disney. We have a leadership mentality in our household. We set the agenda. That's how I want you to think. So is it a mistake, a miracle, a coincidence that this 15-year-old kid grew up to be a billionaire? Or almost preordained destiny? He was told, trained, and oriented to be a winner from 15 years old. But what are we telling our kids? Stupid. Ain't gonna be nothing. You know what we need to say? I'm mad at you, you future entrepreneur. You screwed up, you future doctor. We need to talk them right into their aspirational success, even when they're blowing it. You've made a mistake, but you're not a mistake. The kids are listening to us. They're
real.
watching us for who that we want them to be. And when we tear our rear end, what do we expect from them? So we have got to reimagine, Tip, as tough as this is going to be, everything.
You say reimagine everything?
Reimagine. Everything.
Even when the reality is hitting us in the face.
Particularly
daily.
when the reality is hitting us in the face.
Reimagine it.
History doesn't feel historic when you're sitting in it. It just feels like another day.
Right.
Dr. King was around here for 13 years in Atlanta, going to grocery stores, going to parent-teacher night. Every day wasn't I have a dream speech. He gave that speech 100 times before the March on Washington. Don't you think he was tired? Don't you think he's like, anybody listening to me?
Right.
13 years, but we want to romanticize it. Oh, it was the March on Washington.
Oh, they only do that after you die.
After you die.
They only do that after you die. Do you believe black folks deserve reparations?
Yeah, 40 books in a bank account. We need to get
40 books in a bank account.
It's not 40 acres and a mule. It's 40 books in a bank account. We should get lifetime education. I want as much education as you can shove down your throat for free. And as long as you graduate from college, because K through high school is over.
Right.
It's K through college, and you need a computer class required. A computer class, a financial literacy class, a business management class. Like, this is the jobs of the future.
Right.
Even we're sitting here now, Yeah, it's music, it's art, it's this but this is all technology.
Right.
This is all tech, right?
Right.
This whole situation is flipped to a
Right.
technology-centric world. So we need K through college as a minimum requirement for our people. And it's
Free education.
It's long as you use that education for a gainful purpose. You go work for a nonprofit, you go work for your local government, or you go work for yourself, or you go get a job. As long as we invested in you, I see it as an investment, and you paid off that investment by doing something with it, you can't go sit around, then cool, you don't pay anything. Now, if we invested in you and you're just chilling, and you're one of God's angels put on this is war, in my opinion, out here. This is good and evil.
Right.
And if you're one of the good guys or good women and you've been empowered, and now you're going out there and you're just going to take that education like, I don't feel like working, then you need to pay that back and pay that. We've wasted our time on you. That's what I'm straight up. I'm saying everybody's in an investment. And if you're not leaning in, we've wasted our time on you.
I mean, but okay, and I understand that. I understand the free education. I understand, the need for all of the things you said. But if you look at the Native Americans, and we all know about the Trail of Tears and the way that they were just horribly massacred and done by the Pilgrims, if you will.
And the largest alcoholism rate in the country today is still Native American Indians.
Okay.
Right.
Now, the travesty that was brought upon their people and their ancestors, there was a financial form of retribution that was attributed to them, as well as for the Jewish community. The Jewish community who could prove that they were descendants of people who came from Nazi Germany.
This is a great example.
They also have had financial retribution attributed to them.
Great example.
So if these
two radically different results, by the way.
Understood. However, if these two races or cultures of people can be considered by the American government financially, I mean, tell me what they have that black people in America don't.
A solvable problem. So we're talking about two different things, which is the result of reparations and whether you will get reparations. So you gave an example of Jews, of the Jewish people, and of Native American Indians. I don't know if we have time on the show, but I'd love to get into how that story ended, because they ended very differently for those two groups of people.
Right.
But let's come back to that for a minute.
Okay.
Let me deal with your question.
Okay.
You can put a number on you can try to put a number on the Native American challenge. It's difficult because this was their land, but you can try to put a number on it, and they did it by creating a separate nation called the Navajo Nation, and to this and to that. Jews were 18 million people. They killed 6 million, down to 12 million. They've now back up to 15 million. The world put a number on that, and you have the nation of Israel, and you've got others. Okay, we'll get back. Black folks, the word millionaire, put this in my new book, came from 1850. The same year that the richest city in the world per capita was created, which was Natchez, Mississippi, which was where the number one slave port was.
Sure.
And cotton mill in the world. Okay, so black folks created the word millionaire. My point is, we were worth twice what railroads were worth in the 1850s. You literally, Tip, we created the country. You cannot calculate mathematically the wealth that we created and the amount of money we would be required to be repaid. It would literally bankrupt the country,
okay.
I don't know, 300 times. So they will never.
But see, that's the thing, though. See, I didn't say, excuse me, will we ever get, yes.
Yeah, of course they should.
Okay, now,
the start of that was affirmative action and the civil rights bills and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, now, I think that free education or
an investment of education.
Or tax exemption, you dig what I'm saying? Or, a certain amount of or parts of the country that can be attributed to, being ran by black folks, kind of the same way that the Native Americans have their land for their casinos and so on.
I don't want a separate land of pro people.
Nah.
No. By the way, let's deal with that. Let's do that for a minute.
Okay.
This whole thing about, black only. Wait.
Right.
This is just a ridiculous conversation.
What do you mean?
It's a ridiculous conversation.
Why do you say
you
that?
don't want black only. You want green only. You don't want just black people coming to your business.
Well, no.
You want to be black owned.
I thought you said black owned. Yeah,
no, I said
not black only.
People who want a black only economy.
Not
First
black
of all,
only. I want owned, operated, and controlled.
Amen. But that's not what the emotions of that movement have been saying. We agree on what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Look, racism goes both ways. So
how can racism go both ways?
Because I can also be racist.
No, you can't.
Sure, I can.
No, you can't.
Sure, and let me tell you what happens when I do, because I can actually. I discriminate today. I discriminate against stupid and dumb people, and I'm working on it.
Right.
And ignorant folks, and toxic people. But let me deal with that for a minute. I can't discriminate against my heart and liberate my pocket.
Okay.
It doesn't work. The math doesn't work. But that's why poor white people in poor countries, in poor states that discriminate against black people remain poor.
Okay.
You cannot discriminate in your heart and integrate your pocket. It doesn't work. Conversely, we can't limit who we want to empower. The color of business is green.
This is true.
So you want every customer to come through your door.
This is true.
And you want to take that revenue and use it for the empowerment of your community.
It's true.
Which is what my Jewish brothers and sisters have done, by the way.
Okay. Now, but see, the thing that you said is you cannot go against your heart and enrich your pockets. Well, the prison industry has been doing it for years. They have led with discrimination.
Right.
They're fueled by oppression.
Right.
I mean, they are the epitome of racism.
It's lazy capitalism.
But it's a booming industry.
For the moment.
For how many moments you need.
The private prison business, I don't think has a future. But that's a whole nother conversation. I don't think it has a future, and I think on the other side of COVID, there's a whole bunch of stuff that won't have a future. There's a lot of things that we've been arguing about as a society, wealth inequality, income inequality, whether people who are so-called poor have a value in society.
Right.
The first responders and the second responders in this crisis look like us.
Right.
The people keeping us alive right now look like us.
Right.
There's going to be a complete reset on the value of health care, of how you... my rich friends need my poor friends to do better in order to stay rich. That's what this crisis has told everybody. You can't be wealthy by yourself.
That's real.
You cannot. So, look, Hitler had a run, man. He had a run. Lasted 6 years, but he did.
6 years? Shit,
Osama bin
man.
Laden had a run.
Big Meech run was longer than that.
Who that?
Big Meech. Shit.
I'm just saying that God made this world for good. We've learned bad. That the devil's a fallen angel. God gives the devil permission to exist. I'm saying this world is made for light, and we can't give in to darkness. That's what I'm saying. And I'm saying if you want a winning, I can't guarantee you that being positive will make you a success, but I damn guarantee you that being negative will make you a failure.
That makes a lot of sense. That do make a lot of sense.
Did you disagree with me?
That makes a lot of sense. You know what I mean?
You guys all catch that?
The law of attraction is real. You know what I'm saying? The energy you put out there into the world is the energy you will receive from the world. I mean, definitely. I think that I have seen more examples in my own present life and observed it work in other people's lives as well. So I know that is the truth. And you spoke a little bit before about affirmative action, and you think affirmative action was a form of reparations?
I think it was an attempt at remediation.
You think so?
I think it was an attempt at remediation. Yes, it was a step in the right direction, but it was. The biggest thing that
you don't
folks
think it was like a PR play?
No, look, affirmative action created Atlanta. That's a huge PR play. I mean, the biggest collection of black millionaires in the country is Atlanta, and that was Maynard Jackson and Ambassador Andrew Young and a bunch of other mayors who said, and Ambassador Young with the Olympics, who said there's $1 billion at play here. If you want $700 million, you got to make sure that black and brown businesses get $300 million.
Okay.
And so that was affirmative action. That then created Herman Russell.
Yes.
And all of the folks that we know who created jobs to this day
right.
who are employing basically the biggest black middle class in this country outside of the music and art business. Corporate Atlanta, that's really where it came from. Atlanta decided to argue over money, not race. That's the difference between Atlanta and the rest of the South. You know, by the way, Birmingham, Alabama, and Memphis should have been Atlanta. Bigger populations. They should have had the airport, but they decided to argue over race and white water fountains and black water fountains, all this stupid stuff. And we decided to sit down and argue over who's going to get the money. And all I'm saying is that we need to upgrade that software,
right,
and reimagine that conversation,
right?
Because that's actually something you can win. That's an argument you can actually win. Right?
I agree. I agree with that.
You agreed again?
I agree with that. I do agree that I do agree that we need to put our own financial empowerment first in our minds. Okay, I do believe that in order for us to progressively move forward together, we have to be financially empowered individually and collectively.
Which starts here.
It does start in the mind.
If they give us the money, we're going to lose it.
Sure, but I also believe that outside of the money, even if you have the education, even if you have financially empowered yourself, even if you have become a pillar of your community,
right.
If you go outside, you're doing the right thing, get shot in the face by a white man just because he said so, that requires consequence. That requires action. And you can't and you can't learn your way out of that.
But a broke person cannot hire a lawyer for that family.
They don't need a lawyer.
No. That family needs...
They need an AR-15.
Well, I'm going to argue they need a lawyer.
Hey, man,
they need legal representation.
That's what I think.
And they need somebody who's got resources like you and me to be able to back them up to make sure they can... Okay, well, now we're coming around.
They need both.
I think Jesus would prefer to say the lawyer than the AR-15.
I mean, look, man, Jesus had killers running with him. David wasn't nothing but a killer.
Jesus had boys.
David was a killer, man. And he was in the squad to make sure Jesus was straight. He cutting off ears, doing whatever got to be done in the name of the man that I'm walking with. You dig what I'm saying?
But ultimately,
it's too many Jesuses and not enough Davids out there, if you ask me.
Yeah, but everybody remembers Jesus and nobody remembers David.
I remember David. Damn it, I remember David. Do you think affirmative action, I mean, you said that, you know, Atlanta has benefited from it. Do you think that has a large hand in your success?
Yes, not directly, but certainly my mother and my father, my aunties, who benefited from programs, schooling, opportunities. And, you know, the original affirmative action was the Freedmen hospitals. This is after the Civil War. Freedmen's Bureau created hospitals, HBCUs, land-grant universities. I've already said, I think I said hospitals, higher education institutions. That was the original affirmative action.
Okay.
You know, Lincoln got killed because he was trying to get us the right to vote.
Right.
He said, you know, it was freedom, physical freedom, and now I want the right to vote. And Booth said that's a bridge too far and shot him. This movement of affirming action has been a long road. One would argue that Dr. King and Ambassador Young and all the other heroes and heroes of civil rights were on another journey of freedom. A software upgrade on the Civil War was a civil rights movement that was also about affirming action. Right. And that movement, I think, continues to this day. I'm working right now with folks I don't necessarily agree with an administration that I have a lot of problems with. But, you know, it's one...
Talk about the present administration right now.
The current administration on what I call a new Marshall Plan. As much education you can shove down your throat, internships for all, apprenticeships for all, K through college education, financial literacy as a requirement, venture capital for minority small businesses, equity invested by our government in these businesses and these communities, qualified opportunity zones in our communities, Community Reinvestment Act through the banks. I'm talking about a civil rights agenda in the suites.
That's a pretty robust plan you got.
I ain't playing, man. It takes just as much energy to succeed big as succeed small. Let's do it big.
Right. Now, we spoke a lot about the things that our communities could do to empower itself and become a self-sustainable ecosystem of sorts. We've said that it starts in the mind with education. It then
Education and mentality.
Education, mentality, and it presents itself with actions or
That's
within actions. Right. Let's talk about a time that did happen. Let's talk about a time that was the case. Let's take you back to, what was it, like 1918, 1920?
You're talking about
Tulsa,
Black Wall Street?
Tulsa, right. Oklahoma.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So those brothers and sisters, they'd educated themselves.
Yep.
They developed winner's mentality. They surrounded themselves with other people who had education and a winner's mentality.
This is a great example.
I haven't heard any stories of any greed or any stories of any insecurities of any sorts. I haven't heard any stories of ego or bravado or nothing like that as it is associated with Black Wall Street. However, that wasn't quite enough for them to exist, was it?
So
how did this happen? Tell the people who don't know what happened.
Yeah, so a lot of very angry, self-loathing, racist people, mostly Caucasian, burned down what we call an iconic example of self-reliance. It was referred to as Black Wall Street. It was an entire boulevard of black-owned businesses, and it was really quite amazing. And they were I don't get in their heart, but let's just say they were jealous of us, or they were angry at what they saw.
They were
burned
hateful,
it down. Racist
white people.
Yeah, whatever. They if I don't like me, I'm not going to like you. So whoever they want, I wasn't trying to be associated with them because they hated themselves, which is why they're hating on us. That aside, what people don't know about that story is that's not when the story ended. People stop with the story of they burned it down. What they don't know, Tip, is that we built the crap back. No one knows this part of the story. We went back in. We've been doing so much with so long. We almost do anything with nothing as long as we have hope. We went back in and built I wish I could say the word I want to say. We built the crap back.
You can say whatever you want to say.
No, you can say it. They built the stuff back.
Okay.
And that lasted until the 60s.
They built the shit back up.
There you go. He can say it. They built it, and that lasted the 60s until integration. And what happened was, during this time, you went to a black barber because a white barber didn't want to touch your head. Just real talk. Mm-hmm. You went to a black dentist because a white person didn't want to touch your teeth, and on and on. So we had a self-contained marketplace.
It was forcible.
Yeah. But unfortunately, when integration happened, because I think our self-esteem was not where it needed to be, ultimately Dr. King, I think, he thought he made a misstrategy, not only talking about integrating America, he should have been talking about desegregating our communities and enriching our self-esteem. Some of us didn't want to sit next to the white man. We may have wanted to be him. So we left those communities. We left our own businesses and integrated. We moved. I don't know, we thought the white water was better, or I don't know what it was, but we left those neighborhoods that were self-contained economies. Let's just be positive and say that we had optionality for the first time in our life. And maybe it's like going to buy that Cadillac for the first time.
Right.
I've made it now. I get it, right? But whatever it was the wrong move.
Right.
Our Jewish brothers and sisters will support that synagogue. We'll support that kosher business, whatever. As a first, the number of times that the Jewish community reinvests that dollar in their neighborhood, I believe it's something like 14. Black folks, we got to learn. That dollar does not survive one day in our community. It cycles out. As soon as we get it, it's gone. We're the ultimate consumer. We've got to, once again, move from a consumer mentality to a wealth mentality, but this is not our fault.
From consumers to creators.
I can't say this enough. What I'm talking about is not an indictment of us. We are amazing.
Right.
We just never got the memo on money.
Right.
And that's what that's what I've dedicated my life through Operation Hope to finishing with the Freedmen's Bank started.
Right.
I want to become the Starbucks of financial inclusion.
I mean, you're doing a phenomenal job. You have to, and for you to have accomplished so much and amassed such an enormous footprint of wealth and good leverage debt, if you will. To do that only in
Good
3
debt.
years, yeah. To do that only in 3 years, I think is extremely impressive.
I want to be at $1 billion in 2 years.
You know what? I see you there.
Right next to you.
Yeah. Well, you know what? For me, I don't even really care about the number. The number doesn't impress me. I want to have enough money to do what I want to do and do what I need to do for
Freedom,
others.
brother.
You dig what I'm saying? And if I could get that done with $250, with
He wasn't talking about $2.50. And it wasn't not $2.50. It wasn't $2. It wasn't 250 pesos. That was 250 million.
If I could do that with 250 million, then I ain't got to really like, because if it takes a number to complete you and make you feel fulfilled, you'll be running forever.
That's right.
Because numbers are infinite.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? I learned that in the streets. You know, you always, man, I'm gonna stay out here, bro, till I break 1,000. I'm gonna stay out here till I hit, 5,000. And usually every time we do that, you know what I'm saying, something happens.
That's why I'm talking about. That's why I was talking about earlier that you pivoted. You pivoted from a surviving mentality. You went right through a thriving mentality, and now you have a winning mentality because you're reasonably comfortable in your own skin. If somebody asks me, John, what's the thing you're most proud of? It's not a number. It's not a financial statement. It's not a car or a house or a car. I'm reasonably comfortable in my own skin. Nobody's comfortable in their own skin.
Right.
If they say that, they're lying.
Yeah, everybody got something that, you know what I mean?
But here's what I know, Tip.
Right.
If I don't like me, I'm not going to like you.
That's real.
If I don't feel good about me, I'm not going to feel good about you.
That's real.
If I don't love me, don't expect me to love you.
That's real.
If I don't respect me, I don't know how to, don't expect me to respect you.
Right.
And here's the big one in our community. If I don't have a purpose in my life,
Right.
I'm going to make your life a living hell. Whatever goes around, comes around. We, out of love, we pass down bad habits from generation to generation. In a one-eyed town, in a blind town, a one-eyed man's king. If you don't know better, you can't do better. So you could love your child, but if you don't have financial literacy, what are you gonna give them? You can love your child, but if you weren't loved, are you telling them I love you every day? Watch how you live your life. It may be the only Bible that anybody else reads. I love how you flow, man, because you've got all of you for everybody to see, good and bad,
Right.
Successes and some failures.
Right.
But you say, look, I made a mistake. I'm not a mistake.
Sure. I mean, the thing is, man, the art of not giving a fuck to me is what has empowered me.
Is that the name of the show?
Nah, it should be. It's the complete art of not giving a fuck, because if they catch you caring, that's when they got you. You see what I'm saying? Once they catch you caring more about what they feel of you than what you feel of yourself, they got you. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with that. I would have said it differently, but I agree with that 100%. So Quincy Jones would say this: not at 1 ounce of my self-esteem or self-worth
Right.
depends on your acceptance of me.
Right.
Or Reverend Murray, my pastor, would say this: it's not what people call you, it's what you answer to that's important. And never answer out of your name. And then I added, to argue with a fool proves there are two. So it's okay if you don't love me. I love me. I tell folks, and I think it's a different way of saying what you're saying. I'd rather you respect me and learn to like me than like me and never respect me.
There's
And that requires self-esteem.
It does. And, I argue with, my present statement of die for my respect. That's something that we were taught, in the environment that I was raised up in. Make people respect you by any means. Die for it. And then as I got older, I just began to, just kind of think. And as I spoke to other people who were smarter than me, had more experience than me, who were older than me, mostly in prison.
Prison's a great university.
I mean, it is, you know what I'm saying? For everybody who don't get to go to school, man, prison's the next best thing.
We're not telling you to go to prison.
Not telling you. Some of you ain't got a choice. You dig what I'm saying?
If you are in prison, use it for something positive.
That's what I'm saying. So when we get there, all right, the amount of knowledge, information, and relationships that we are exposed to and is made available to us, it gave me something to challenge that thought. And it is, what is the value of the respect coming from a non-respectable person? You see what I'm saying?
I do.
So with the mentality of die for my respect, that means if anybody don't respect me, I'm willing to die to show you that you should. If you really consider the value of the respect that comes from a non-respectable person, that is not a fair exchange for one's life.
Amen.
You know what I mean? So I can understand a lot of the philosophies that, you know, that you write in your books and that you use in your life, you know, even though some of them, you know, are contrary to popular belief.
Yeah, that's fine.
And there are alternative views that, you know, require some examining and some, you know, some wrapping one's mind around them. But I know that from being around you, you're a genuine brother. You come from an authentic place, and, you know, you have fair and decent principles. And whether we agree or disagree, that is enough for me to continue to learn from you, to build with you, and to consider you a brother. Now, you know so much about financial literacy. Do you sit on the boards of a lot of banks?
I sit on the boards of no bank.
You sit on the board of no bank?
No. I don't want anybody to own me or to be biased or me to have an allegiance to or a bias towards. I want to have influence in the banks, not power in the banks. I don't want to have their stocks, their bonds. I don't want them to have some say-so with what I do or how I believe or how I flow. In fact, we're intentionally diversified at Operation Hope and at all of my companies so that so I have what you had said earlier, freedom.
Right.
Freedom is self-determination. I get up every morning and say what I want, when I want, to whomever I want, how I want. Politically, I'm not a member of the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. I'm a member of the Get It Done Party.
That's right.
I just want to get it done. And anybody want to help my community is my friend. If you don't, you're wasting my time. Pure and simple.
Right.
So I have
fair.
a radicalized view that's biased towards results, biased towards outcomes. And yeah, I mean, that's one of my shortest answers today. I just think that we have got to reimagine, again, everything. I say to people, okay, fine. You know, you don't like what I'm talking about? Tell me an alternative. Because we've tried all this raggedy stuff that ain't worked. Mm-hmm. That doesn't seem to be working for people very much. So why don't you try this? Give it a shot. You know, I love math, man.
Because there ain't but one right answer. Yeah.
Nothing changes your life more than God or love than moving your credit score 120 points. That's what I know. You've never had a riot in a 700 credit score neighborhood in the history of this country. That's what I know. I know that 700 credit score neighborhoods don't riot. Ever. Black ones, white ones, Latino ones, Asian ones, they go shopping. I know that 500 credit score neighborhoods riot. That's what I know. And I know that's where we all see all those financial predators waiting for us to pimp us in broad daylight.
Now, those 500 credit score communities have been preyed upon for generations.
And we're preyable.
But we did not create those circumstances
so change
for
it.
ourselves.
Change the outcome. You can't change the input, change the outcome. I can do this all day.
Man, you counsel.
You're an elegant rapper of the music. I'm a rapper of the math.
Yeah, I mean, listen, man, this is the thing, right? So we could go back and forth like this for hours, and just in the interest of, you know, your time and, you know, the listeners here expeditiously, we'll move on. You've counseled several presidents.
Yeah.
How did you find the opportunity to do that, and how did you counsel them?
It's a very good question because I really don't like Washington very much. I've been asked to be a politician. I've been told I should run for president and all this stuff. I have no interest in it whatsoever.
Me neither.
But I understand the power of it, and I understand how they can create change. I think it's because I don't care. It's your point earlier.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's because they don't, how do I say this? They don't believe I've got some agenda that they can't trust. I I don't need their money. I don't need their wealth. I'm not trying to get a contract. I'm not trying to get a hookup.
Right.
I don't need nothing they got. But I do have ideas that can make them successful in their jobs, and I'm willing to let them take credit for my ideas. And there's some presidents I liked more than I respected, and some that I respected more than I liked, but they're still the president. And I've found a way to work with both parties to change federal policy or create it 4 times, including making financial literacy the federal policy of this government. And I'm the only American citizen ever to change the name of a building on the White House campus in the history of this country. It was called the Treasury Annex Building. It's called the Freedmen's Bank Building in honor of that Freedmen's Bank, right? And if you look up on your phone, you'll see the Freedmen's Bank there across from the White House. I just try to. I remember one day, Ambassador Young, I was counseling President Bush, the son, and I just had gotten tired of it. I thought it was a game.
Right.
And I went to Ambassador Young and he said, how's it going? I said, it's just a photo op. He said, John, stop it. He said, stop being cynical. Be skeptical, but once you're cynical, you lost hope. He said, John, this is not about you. This is not about how you feel or what you like. This is about your people. This is about who you represent, who can't get in that office. So you need to assume that President Bush is a good man with bad counsel. You go in there and give that man good counsel and make him look good and hope he signs policy that helps your people. Now get out of my face.
Nah, I have a problem with the way and all the and
by the way,
Ambassador Young, it worked.
He signed the financial literacy policy I talked about.
Man, well, listen, Ambassador Young is a mentor of both of ours. Yeah. That's actually how we came to meet one another.
That's right.
But hoping something happens in exchange for something definitive happening. To me, that's a recipe for disappointment.
No, that's the Bible. Faith is what you do when you don't have all the facts.
You put faith in God, not man.
I'm with you, and God has asked me to go talk to the president,
okay,
and try to make him look good. So let me tell you some odd things. You just never know who your friends are going to be. Who was the civil rights president? The charismatic John F. Kennedy or the S.O.B. Johnson? President Johnson. But he had horrible
Lyndon
things to
B.
say.
Johnson.
Lyndon B. Johnson said horrible things about Jews, blacks, women on tape. It's horrible.
Sure.
But he signed 4 civil rights bills. Who created affirmative action? Nixon. Who created Martin Luther King's holiday? Reagan. I can go on this all day. You just never know who your friends are going to be. Who gave more to Africa than any president in the history of America? George W. Bush. You just never know who your friends are going to be. Make friends everywhere. And so the Republican Party and the Democratic Party have a responsibility to work together for the betterment of our people.
Right.
But the people in those positions may turn your stomach. I just have to keep remembering it's not about me. And it's about this higher calling and not being emotional and not being narrow-minded and not winning the battle and losing the war. Because anger does not pay a bill. Frustration is not a business plan. And folding your hands and saying, I don't want to participate is not helping anybody. You're actually hurting yourself. You're hitting your face against somebody else's fist with no power behind the hit. It's just a mark on your face. So I just think we need to change our strategy.
While there is truth in everything you just said, I do feel that getting,
one thing the show's not going to be is boring.
Being fed up is inevitable. You know what I mean? If you take enough blows to the face, enough kicks to the ass, you're gonna learn how to fight.
But here's my motto for life. And interestingly enough, you're arguing against yourself. Success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. An entrepreneur works 18 hours a day to keep from getting a job. Your whole motto is over to round it through it, I'm going to get to it. That is black folks' motto. Right. You never, ever, 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 ever give up, and you told your children that. So yes, it's going to be frustrating. So what? Do you know the record for the most home runs? We know it.
Who, Jackie Robinson?
Hank Aaron.
Hank Aaron, okay, gotcha.
Who has the record for the most strikeouts?
I have no idea.
Hank Aaron. You cannot hit a ball you don't swing at. You're gonna strike out often. But let me tell you something. Success has 1,000 mothers, and failure is a bastard child. Nobody remembers how many times you failed or how many times you tripped. They remember the time you won. So let's go win and stop complaining about it.
Words of John Hope Bryant here, everybody. Okay, so here at Expeditiously, we have a tradition.
Uh-oh.
Well, our
By
tradition.
the way, I love you, man. You're a good brother.
Man, I love you too, bro. And I appreciate what you do, not only for our people, but I appreciate what you do for our communities. I appreciate, I appreciate what you've done for yourself so you can live and be an example without saying anything to anybody. You know what I'm saying?
And you too.
Well, thank you. But, I do have a keen appreciation for that. Now, tradition here at Expeditiously, aside from tequila, is is the word of the week.
Tequila and incense.
Tequila incense? I don't have no incense. Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Aromatherapy. Okay. So our tradition here is the word of the week. The word of the week is a word that I pull out of my illustrious vocabulary or the dictionary. And it usually describes the conversation or the guest. So the word that we have chosen for the discussion of today, sycophant. Sycophant is a noun. It is a person who praises important or powerful people too much and in a way that is not sincere, especially in order to get something from them. One who lives off of and flatters the rich. Now, what we're going to do here is I'm going to use this word in a sentence just so people could go on and use it themselves and give us no credit at all. One of the first lessons I learned from my wise and powerful mentor, Ambassador Young, was to be cautious of surrounding myself with sycophants, but to find smart people who could help me make real impact, like John Hope Bryant. Thank you, bro. I appreciate you for taking the time. You have at least 700 other places that you could be.
I'm just glad I'm not a sycophant.
You dig what I'm saying? Hey, man, I thank you for the work that you're doing, for your commitment, for your dedication. And I thank you for empowering our people with knowledge, wisdom, and education. And I thank you for imparting your wisdom down to me. I appreciate you.
And I thank you for being the change we need to see in our world, brother. You're a bad brother.
Man, from your mouth to God's ears. I appreciate that.
Rock and roll.
Love and respect, man. This has been Expeditiously. Watch your favorite episodes of Expeditiously right now on the Expeditiously YouTube page.